And action! Hey there YouTube, Ed B here, W4EMB. We're getting ready to start winding our toroid for our in-fed half-wave antenna build. So of course you're going to need your toroid, some sort of measuring device, and your wire. Alright? So let's go ahead and get started here. We are going to go ahead and we're going to cut off, I'm going to go with 44 inches of wire. 44 inches of my magnet wire. If you're a little long, that's okay. Alright, 44 inches of your magnet wire. Now that you have that 44 inches of your magnet wire, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and place the end of the wire on 0 and come up to the number 8 right here, and at number 8 give it a good solid pinch and pinch it right over on itself. Okay, so just like this, you want to pinch it right over on itself. Hopefully that's coming out all right. Okay, that's going to be the start of the primary windings. The primary windings being the parts that's twisted. Okay, now that you have 8 inches of it twisted over, let's come back 3 inches. So this tail right here, let's measure 3 inches of that tail. And let's bend it up at 90 degrees. Okay, so you should have 5 inches here together and then a little 3-inch tail this way. Alright, now what we're going to do is very tightly, fingers only though, we don't want to use pliers here, we want to use our fingers and really tightly hold that place, and then come up here to the part that's bent, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start giving that a good solid twist, making sure that both wires twist. We don't want to just spin one wire around the other. We want both of these wires to be nice, good, and twisted. Again, making sure that you hold on to this point right here as you do this, okay? And you just keep twisting, keep twisting, keep twisting. All right, I think that is twisted enough. All right, so again, that's about 5 inches or so that's twisted. There's the little tail, and then here's the remainder. Okay? Alright. Now comes the part of winding this toroid. Alright folks, hopefully this camera angle is okay. This is a new device. I actually have a chest rig on. Never tried this before. And really hoping it works. And my microphone happens to be sitting underneath it, so we'll find out afterwards if this is doing us any good. Okay, again, here's our 5 inches of twisted. Okay, here's our 3-inch tail. Here's our long remainder. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a toroid, and I'm going to place my wire twisted pair, which is a primary winding, up in the bottom, leaving my little tail just outside. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a good, get it nice and tight up against this wall, and bend this down, and then I'm going to bring it back up, and I'm going to bring it up through again. Okay, so what we have now is 2 twisted pair going through the center of our toroid. Okay, 2 twisted, all right, with our tail on the outside. Okay, I'm holding this very firmly here. Now comes the remainder. Okay, with this remainder, I'm going to try to keep it pulled tight as best as I can. I'm going to place the remainder through, smash that up against the wall as best as I can. Okay, so that remainder piece, single wire, is going through the center. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let's do that again. I just hit the camera. Alright, so there's 2 times. Okay, try to flatten it the best you can as you go. Here comes number 3. Okay, here comes number 4. Okay, here comes number 5. Now, on that number 5, 1, 2, twisted, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's number 7. Watch what I do with this one. I'm actually going to come down through the center, but I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to come over and across. Because here's my twisted pair. I'm coming right next to it. Okay, now that still counts as a pass through the center of the toroid, but I'm coming over here next to that twisted pair. And I'm going to go through the donut again. So, just to clarify here, twisted, twisted, then our single, 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 and notice our wrap was working its way around the toroid anti-clockwise here. But then I went through the middle, and I'm changing direction. I'm going to go clockwise with it. Okay, and I'll show you how come in here in just a second. Okay, all right, so we want a total of 14 wraps, 2 of them being primary. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's number 10. Here comes number 11. There's number 12. $13. Okay, and finally, here is number 14. Okay. All right. So we should have this. And that's a twisted tail, the twisted part, okay, the primary winding, 2 wraps through the donut, our little tail, our 3-inch tail that we had left, and then we started our wraps, went through, and then continued our wraps to this side. The only reason we did this, we could have just continued our wraps all the way around, but then what would have happened, this remaining tail would have been over here on the same side as this, okay? But we don't want that. I want this on the opposite side. So that's solely the only reason why we started, crossover, and then continued on, was to get the tail to the opposite side of these two. The reason they're opposites are this. When it comes time to solder, this twisted pair will go to the ground lug of our connector. The single one will be soldered into the center of our connector, right? So those two need to go one way. This is actually going to connect to our wire once we get to that point. Okay, so that can be on here like this, and then again this is going to be for our wire side. All right, that's winding in the toroid. Okay, again that is 2 twisted, 12 single. 2 plus 12 is 14. Total of 14 divided by 2 primary is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Therefore, this is a 49-to-1 transformer. And that's how you figure that out. Okay? Again, it's your primaries, your secondary windings. Add those together. Total of 14. How many of them are primary? 2. 2 goes into 14. 7 times. Square that number. 7 squared is 49. There you go. Now, since this little tail is on the bottom and this part is coming out of the top, something I like to do is I like to take a zip tie and go ahead and place the zip tie as tight as I can around this to hold everything the way it's supposed to be. Okay, Something that I just did with my Etsy winder is when I received my Etsy winder, the little positive part here, the center conductor that I'm going to solder to, the opening was facing down like this, and I need to get in there to solder. So I'm not sure if that's coming through. So if you can see right in this piece right here, I loosened the nut, and this actually has a flat spot in it, so it indexes in there. So I actually pulled it out, turned it over, and put it back so that my cup is facing upwards. That way it'll be easier for me to lay this wire in there to solder it when it comes that time. Okay, so I have taken 2 small zip ties, utilized these 2 holes back here. Here they are. I just got to get in and remove the extra zip tie part. Careful when you do that, you don't shoot yourself. Alright, and you can even push those square parts down inside if you wish. Alright, so that is secured on there. When I was securing this, I laid this single wire. Remember, it's this tail, not the twisted part, but this little piece here that goes inside of our center conductor of our BNC. This side here is going to get soldered to this tab right here. Okay. If I can, I'll get my pliers and I'll see if I can force this into that hole maybe when I do my soldering. But I'm going to solder here and solder here. Once that has solder on it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my capacitor, and I'm going to leave my legs long so that way the head of my capacitor can actually lay inside of this circle. And I'm just going to solder one leg of it in there with that piece and solder the other to there, and then just bend it down and in there. And then we're almost done. Alright, my eyes are not as good as they used to be, so I can't really get the camera down in here and solder at the same time and see what I'm doing. So you'll just have to believe me when I say I'm going to solder these 2 wires in. Alright, let's make you seasick here. Okay, so when I was soldering my braid, I applied this alligator clip in there just to act as a heat sink. Alright, so I've got the center piece going to the center conductor here. I have this piece going to that tab. I then wired in my capacitor, and now I can set my capacitor in there. Okay, and that's going to get wrapped up with some tape later. Next is to scrape off this piece, and then we're going to take our wire and we're going to affix our wire here. And what I'm going to try to use this time is this little doohickey here. I've already cleaned off the wire so that I can go ahead and my goal is to take my antenna wire, stick it in one side, and I'll clamp that down, and then I'll take the other end and I'll stick the wire on there, and then take my continuity checker once I have my appropriate length of wire on, and I should be able to touch it on this wire and touch it either on there or there, and it should work on either of those 2 places. And it does. So once I get my white wire cut, we're almost in business. All I need to do is go ahead and measure out 68 feet of this wire, put it in there. Once I run it through these strain relief holes, I'll go up, down, up, down, up, down. so that way the wire itself is in these holes, and then that way the wire has a place to pull. And then when I go to hang this up in the wild, I can utilize this big hole right here and hook my bungee cord through that big hole, and then go to wherever I have that holding on, coax of course. And all right, let's go ahead and get our big wire. Okay, here is our wire. Goodness sakes. I have routed the wire down and up through these holes that come in this thing. I put the connector on, and then you'll see that, yeah, there's about 69 feet of wire, 70 feet maybe. I rounded up a little bit. It's always better to have long, and we'll start getting this set up in order to get it cut to length. All right. Okay, what you have here, folks, is this is my table. I have a bungee cord around my table, and then my feed point is right down there. Okay, my coax is laid out perpendicular to my wire. Okay, and I have it hooked up to my AA55 Zoom Rig Expert. The wire is going up to the top of the mast, and my wire is long, and I know it to be long. All right, now I went out and I got this this thing so that I could maybe take a not blurry picture of my screen, but we'll see how well it works, or not a shiny picture. Let me turn on the Rig Expert here. Okay, so I'm on multi SWR. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up to SWR meter, and I'm going to hit frequency, and I want to type in 07015. Okay, I'm going to hit check mark, and I'm going to say that I want it to graph my SWR. Okay, and to graph my SWR, I hit number 4. Okay, and so it should draw a V. Okay, and on this, the V, here's the band. The blue section is the band. The V should come down and back up to the left of that index line, which is 7.015. So let's go ahead and run it. Yeah, so it's way over there. Let's go ahead and let's increase this just and run it. Yeah, so there's the minimum SWR way over there at 6395. All right, so I'm going to go drop the pole, trim off about 2.5 feet, put it back up, and come back and run that again. All right, so stand by. Okay, I trimmed off about that much. Go ahead and turn it back on. And I'm still already on the same frequency, right? So 7.015, check. And number 4, and run it. All right, so we're still a little bit long, 6.715. All right, so another trim. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and hit run it. Run that, run. All right, and let's run it again. All right, 6.895, and we've taken off that much so far. So probably another 1.5 feet could come off of there. All right. All right, so it's my third cutting here. Let's see what we have. Let's go ahead and turn on analyzer. Frequency 7.015, check. Graph and run it. All right, well, that was a little bit much off, but it puts me at 7.075. 7.075 is the sweet spot. All right, so I may have taken off just a bit more than I should have, but I'm still at 7.0. Yeah, we're still pretty low, right? So let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's let's cancel this and let's come to multi SWR here. And I'm going to say, all right, run it. So I have programmed for multi SWR 7.050, 14.050, 21.050, 28.050, and 18.072. I do not expect 18.072 to come up very resonant because that's 17 meters. This is in harmonics for 7, 14, 21, 28. So let's go ahead and just run it and see what we get. Well, I don't think that's too bad at all. 7.050 gives me 1.09. 14.050, 1.3. 21, 1.3. 28.050, 1.72. 18.072 gives me a 4.8. And I'm pretty sure a tuner can clean that up. So there you go, 4 bands, all on one antenna. Okay, and again, that's just this doohickey that we just made. Here we are on the RBN. I'm making it up into Canada, Florida, out west on 20, and then the yellow lines are 40. All right, so I'd call it a success. After looking at my SWR and looking at the RBN to see where I've hit, I would think that our little homemade antenna has done us well. Just shows you what you can do with a little bit of wire winder, a little bit of wire, connector, and this is the one I normally use in the field. And it actually has a break in it where I cut it by accident, and I tied it back together, and I've been using it like that. I've yet to repair it. All right, well anyway, folks, I'm Ed W4EMB out here with the homemade in-fed half-wave antenna that we constructed in this video, I hope. Once I go, now comes the fun part of going and piecing all this video together. But that's it, that's the whole thing. All right, hopefully you made it this far here to the end of the video. Bring up my microphone to see if I can improve my sound here on this portion of the video a little bit better. Okay, I want to talk about this Wagu connector that I used. That wasn't part of my plan originally. I had planned on just soldering on a bullet connector there, but when it comes to your build, all you have to do is clean that enamel off of this piece, take your wire, tin it, tin this, solder those two together, okay? I just wanted to use a connector. I had it laying around. But if you want to know, it's called a Wago connector, W-A-G-O, and this one's called the Wago 221, okay? And it's simply a little tab that you flip up, okay? And you can insert a wire and then shut that tab and then open the next tab, insert your other wire, and basically it electrically connects 2 wires together with just a connector that can be opened and closed. I was going to solder a bullet connector on there, but after conferring with my buddy Pat, KF4LMZ, play that 20 times fast, he said, hey, Ed, maybe that Wago connector is a better way to go, because if you're in the field and you have something go wrong, you can always undo this connector, pull it off, make some sort of repairs, and put a connector back on. Like, hey, that's a good idea. And then after he said that, I got to thinking maybe I should throw a few of these in my POTA bag, because on my one red in-fed half-wave, the red wire winder, I actually cut my wire and I put it together, gave it a twist, tied it in a knot. I could have still tied it in a knot for strain relief, but if I would have had a Wago connector in the bag, I could have just inserted it in there and been good to go. I wouldn't be relying on me twisting 2 wires together. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at some screenshots.
Okay, here we go. This is the first slide. This is what 10 meters was looking like. And I didn't know whether 10 meters was open or not. So I just thought I would just give it a try and call CQ. And so this is where I made it out on 10 meters. Now, I did make a QSO on 10 meters um, during my Parks on Air activation yesterday, and I forgot to pay attention as to exactly where that was. I'm taking a quick look at my log. Oh, okay. All right. All right. I made a 10-meter contact. So even though the reverse beacon network only showed my signal getting here, I actually made a contact to Chile. Yeah, to the country of Chile, all the way down south on 10 meters. Okay, so the reverse beacon network is a good tool, but it's not the gospel. All right, now also keep in mind when I came home and started capturing these screenshots off of the reverse beacon network, the gray line had moved. So this wasn't necessarily where the gray line was. It's about an hour late. All right, okay, let's go next slide. So this is 10 meters. Okay, here's 15 meters. Okay, and this is where I was getting out with this homemade in-fed half-wave 5 watts, right? Coast to coast and some DX in there, right? Okay, and again, the gray line is about an hour different than what it truly was when I was doing this exercise or doing the Parks on the Air. All right, next we have 17 meters. Okay, it's getting out quite well there on 17 as well. All right, let's move on to 20. All right, now 20 was all over. You know, I got all over the place here. Now again, it may not look like it's clear out in the California or whatever, but remember the reverse beacon network is just kind of just a tool to help us to see how it's going. Okay, and then I also tried 30 meters just to see if I could get 30 meters to tune with the auto tuner of the radio. I was using the Elecraft KX3. And so I was actually able to get out on 30 meters, and I made quite a few contacts on 30 meters. Okay. All right. I made North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, Michigan, Illinois. Well, there we go for that. Let's see. All right. So that was our slideshow showing what I actually did during my Parks on the Air activation. So again, those were screenshots from the reverse beacon network during my Parks on the Air activation. All right. This is the last thing I'll show you here on this one. This is going to be from the Polo app, the map of my QSOs during my Parks on Your activation. All right, hopefully you can see that okay. So you can see all the way down here at the bottom my Chile contact, and I made it all the way out there to Idaho, and then of course the normal pattern for me here in Middle Tennessee. Now, when you look at my contacts, you know, I only made 25 QSOs, but again, it was to get out there and just test this antenna. And a combination of looking at the RBN hits and looking at my actual POTA contacts. I hit my microphone. Hopefully, you get a good idea of what this little in-fed half-wave can do with a thin piece of wire. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and add these clips into the already edited bunch, and let's get this published. I hope you enjoyed this build, and I would really like to hear about when you build this antenna, what is your performance from it. Please come back and let me know. I'd love to have some testimonials from this antenna. Kilo Mike 3 Sierra Tango Uniform Stu, he uses an in-fed half wave, and I know KD7 DUG of Left Coast Ham Radio. He has tried it and used it quite a bit, and I think that they're both happy with theirs. So I'd love to hear about yours. Now, as a final thing I'd like to say, I know that there's a bunch of ways to wind a toroid. I know there's a bunch of ways to do different things. This video is merely to show you how did I do mine and what was the results of the way that I did it. And if you wanted to go out and buy your own parts and do it the way I did it as well, that's what this video is for. Anyway, I appreciate you watching, and let me get my button ready. Appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. And please thumbs up my video, subscribe, like it. And also, thank you to my coffee crew and coffee club supporters. What I plan on doing, I bought a package of 3 of these. And if you've waited all the way to the end, good for you. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build 3, 4 more of these, whatever I have the parts left for. When I get done building 4 of them, get them trimmed and cut to frequency, I am then going to open up my Coffee Crew supporters list, and I'm just going to enter those call signs into a random drawing, and I'm just going to pick 3 or 4 people from my Coffee Crew, and I'm just going to mail them an antenna. So if you haven't already supported the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee Fund, you can. It's not necessary at all means. But since I do have the stuff and the parts left over, that's what I'm going to do with it. So thanks to my Coffee Crew supporters, or the people who support my channel through the Buy Me a Coffee Fund. Definitely appreciate you. All right, I'm Ed. We'll catch you on the next one. 72. If you're QRP like you should be.